Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been grinding Overwatch for a long time and you still haven't been able to reach the highest rank, the top 1% Grandmaster, then I have the perfect guide for you. I'm going to break down the top 10 reasons why you can't get GM. But speaking of GM, we have in-depth Grandmaster guides on the GameLeap website, so if you want to see any of your favorite characters and you want to see a high-level breakdown of those characters, do yourself a favor and go check it out in the links down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Kicking it off with the first big reason why you can't get Grandmaster is you're just simply doing your job, but you're not making plays. Now, everyone has a job, right? Every character in the game has the job that they are supposed to do on paper, but there's always more that everyone could do. Every character, whether you're a tank, DPS, or support, can make proactive plays that help the team aggressively. Anas can hit fat nades, Roadhogs can flank and make really powerful, impactful hooks, and the list goes on and on. What Grandmasters will do consistently is that they will push the bounds of their impact, but they'll do so without getting punished. They'll try to get as much impact as possible, but they will make sure that they don't get punished for it at the same time. Essentially, your average Grandmaster player will just do everything that a lower level player is, including their job, but they will also be making these proactive plays as well when a low level player wouldn't even attempt any of these plays. So that's the first thing, and that's the first reason why you probably can't get GM. Now, the second thing is giving proper respect. Now, what do I mean by giving proper respect to your enemies? Well, you see, some enemies that you're gonna run across will deserve respect. Now, what do I mean by deserve respect? Like a really high level Widowmaker, you have to respect her skill. You cannot jump in front of that Widowmaker. Hell, you probably shouldn't even be peeking that Widowmaker at all if you can help it. You either want to route in a way that gets her very little value or dive her altogether. Now, while I did say that there are some players that you have to respect, it is important to understand that sometimes over-respecting enemies can actually turn into a flaw. You see, if you over-respect an enemy, you're not pushing the bounds of what you can accomplish. You're not making proactive plays, and you're almost playing like a scared puppy. GMs will first evaluate the skill of an enemy, and then play accordingly right on the cusp of cautious and confidence that pushes them over the edge. Essentially, they will try to get away with as much as possible, but still maintain a slight barrier of respect that they will not cross, because the idea is to get as much impact as possible and still abuse the enemy as much as possible without overstepping your bounds to the point where your enemy can punish you. And the best way to do that is to respect them. The only way to outplay these enemies is to first give them their credence to their skill and then operate under the assumption that they're already pretty good and evaluate their skill as you go and adapt to your own play to match the enemy's skill level. Now, the next thing on the list that we have for you is you need to start abusing enemies' weakness. Depending on your role, you need to be constantly contesting enemies and putting pressure or pot shots into them. Make them respect you. As the opposite effect of the second tip, you need to earn the enemy's respect. And just earning their respect will mean that they won't go crazy trying to make these aggressive plays on your team because they know that you will shut them down and you will punish them for it. On top of this, you need to find the weak spot on the enemy team and consistently shut it down. You need to be cognizant of who you could farm on the enemy team and who you cannot, and simply farm the bad players on the enemy team over and over again. Find that crack in their armor and abuse it again and again. Maybe you realize that their Zen can't duel you. Just keep abusing that Zen over and over again, whether that means going into his backline and clipping him, or whether that means spawn camping him until he swaps off. Abuse the crack in the enemy team, abuse the weak point. Maybe it's a DPS that you know that you could just destroy every single time because he has proven himself to not be to your level. While you might be better than them on paper, if you don't identify it and abuse it, then you're not going to get the value and you're not going to just farm them again and again. On top of this, you never want to be that crack in your team. Grandmaster players will never let themselves be the reason that the enemy team is getting opportunity again and again. They will never let themselves be the catalyst that allows the enemy team to push in and run rampant, and the way to do that is to make sure that you are never the weak point for your team. Lastly, as far as this goes, you should be protecting the weak points on your team to the best of your abilities. Maybe your support is getting doped. Well, if you can consistently protect them, it doesn't matter what skill level they are, they can still accomplish their job because you were there to protect them from the threat. But if you didn't, then it turns into that weak spot on your team just bleeding again and again. And what I mean by that is they basically give the enemy opportunity to win fight after fight after fight because they are just feeding, but you can specifically do something about it. Now, moving on to the fourth thing that you need to do, you need to be a team player when it works and a solo carry when it doesn't. What I mean by that is if your team is executing very well together, then you could become a role filler. You don't need fat 23-man nades if your tanks are consistently crushing the front line and your DPS are killing flankers. Essentially, everything is working how it should. Everyone is doing their job. Basically, what I'm saying is you could be a role filler when your team is operating well, like a cog in a successful machine. Now, if your team is lacking in a huge way, which is going to happen quite often, you have to try to accommodate that by creating more impact to offset the weakness. Essentially, as an example, while it's not necessary to try to solo kill the entire backline and take duels with DPS and healers as Tracer every single fight, and if your team is working really well, you can just farm tanks instead. But if that passive playstyle is not viable and it's not getting enough impact to win the fight because a lot of people aren't doing their jobs correctly or the enemy team is doing their jobs better, then you must be proactive and successful if you want to win that game regardless. You have to go for a proactive play, and the play has to work, and you have to be able to kill these DPS and supports in the backline in order to win the team fight when your team is not doing their job. However, the important thing here is if you try these proactive, aggressive strategies, there always is an increase in risk. If you play hyper aggro and you die because of it, you could risk losing a team fight even if you just would have won with a good, solid team fundamental. What I'm saying is you don't necessarily need to be going for these insanely hyperactive, hyper impact plays if your team is doing well, because you could actually throw that status quo out, get picked yourself, and then lose the team fight even when you only had to just accomplish your job. Now, moving on to point number 5, you need to put in constant effort to eradicate your mistakes. A GM player will typically perhaps make 100 less mistakes a game than a diamond player. The reason a GM player looks very similar to a Masters player a lot of times is because in a lot of ways they can be similar. Mechanically, positionally, and even game sense wise, Masters and GM players could look pretty similar. But a Masters player will make 40 plus mistakes in a game, while a GM player might make 10 or less. This is because every single death should be a learning point where you can improve. The important thing to understand is that few deaths in the entire game are unavoidable if you have proper game sense, good positioning, or the mechanical skill to back up a play, so always look at every single death as a learning point to fix your mistakes. Now, the sixth thing that is probably keeping you back from GM is not smashing the like button. Come on, smash it right now, and this season, you will climb right to GM. Guarantee it. Anyways, no, but all joking aside, the real sixth tip is GM players will never stop improving their mechanical skill. Regardless of your role, mechanical skill is something that you never want to be lagging behind the rest of the pack. Everything else relies on it, and if you're not good enough with mechanical skill, even if you consistently make the proper plays or position correctly, a better mechanical player can come and kill you over and over again, no matter what decisions you're making, which is going to be frustrating. So you definitely need to hone your mechanical skill. If the best Overwatch League players in the entire world are constantly trying to improve your mechanical skill, so should you. Great mechanics can make a bad play work anyways, and it can make a great play work 100% of the time. So definitely put in effort, regardless of whether you're DPS, tank, or support. Put in effort to keep grinding your mechanical skill. Now, the seventh big thing that is probably keeping you from climbing to Grandmaster is not adapting or having a plan for the meta. Yes, you can easily get GM with a niche character that is not meta, but if enemies seriously want to shut you down, you can get demolished if you're not prepared. At the very least, you need to have a game plan with your character versus the meta, because the meta is going to be what the majority of players are playing. So even if you're playing something off the record or a little bit off meta, you still need to figure out why that character is viable against the meta and what is your proactive plan against the meta. It can't just be, I'm going to play this character even though it gets completely hard countered by the meta, and I'm just gonna feed every single fight, because that's the fastest way to drop straight down in rank. Now, another part to this is a big part in playing at the highest level is evaluating your own impact level constantly. And if you're not getting impact, you need to swap to something always that you know will get value, especially if you're getting shut down completely. For example, Hog player named 6 will often whip out the Roadhog in ranked, but if the enemy is playing something like on a double shield with a McCree, he will swap off so fast because he realizes that the effective strategy that he likes to run on Hog is just getting completely blocked out. In this example, while he typically plays a character that is niche in the meta and he still knows how to make it work, he's not going to just run it into a brick wall every single time because he knows that he's not going to get enough impact to carry, and that is the biggest priority if you want to win the game. Now, moving on to the 8th tip I have for you, and this might be a little bit of a hard truth, but you might not be playing enough. You see, everyone is constantly improving at Overwatch across every single rank. If you don't believe me, look at the GM Dragon Blades back in Season 2. I know it wasn't really GM, but it was a high number, like the 90 plus. Look at those Dragon Blades, and then look at the Dragon Blades in GM now. A Diamond player today can blade better than the top 500 players back in Season 2, and I 100% mean this. That can just show you how much this game has progressed in the meantime. If you are playing 1 hour a week, I'm sorry, but you're not going to improve fast enough to climb to Grandmaster. Oftentimes, when I have improved the most and hit my peaks, it is because I played every single day and I've played an insane amount of hours every single day. This allows you to reach critical mass where you have no rust at all and you just play day after day, improving every single day. You see, you're not going to improve your skills if you still have rust on you, and the time that you actually improve the most is when you're constantly playing at your peak. You're playing at the best you possibly can play at, then you play and play and play, and then all of a sudden, the best you possibly could play at is actually stretched farther, and then it gets stretched farther and farther and farther, and that's why playing as much as possible is extremely important. Now, moving on to the 9th tip that I have for you, it's blaming others for your loss. This is a really big problem that plagues people from every rank. Yes, I know it's frustrating when you lose, but it is absolutely pointless to blame others. At the end of the day, only you care about your rank, and that is extremely important for you to remember. There is always less mistakes that you could have made or more plays that you could have made that could have had an impact in the win or loss of a game. Blaming others is the fast road to simply not holding yourself accountable, which means that you will not fix your mistakes and not improve as a player. Your idea is to become better than those around you and rise above. Remember, you are the difference maker and you are the constant in every single one of your games. While everyone around you is going to be random, you are the one that can make a difference, and you are the one that can up your win percentage up and up, higher and higher, to the point where you just climb all the way to Grandmaster. Essentially, what I'm saying is you have the power to create a constant imbalance where the team that is so lucky to get you on it, that's the team that is most likely to win every single time. Now, moving on to tip number 10. This is very, very important, but a lot of people won't even suggest it, but I need to, because this is the biggest thing that pushes a lot of players over the edge as far as skill level, and it's playing in scrims. Usually the best players that want to grind and become better and better will play in scrims and try to compete in open division. Playing the game at a higher level filled with team play, comms, and against higher skilled players will help you evolve far more quickly. Scrims are a great way to build duo partners and grow a community of friends that are highly competitive like you. Smurfing with your buddy 24/7 down multiple ranks under where you are supposed to be will never help you improve. It's far better to play comp with people that are gonna try hard around your rank. Competing also against high skill players will help you evaluate the difference in skill level between you and a higher ranked player that will help you expel miss about elo hell and things like that, and will set you up for a goal towards improvement that will lead you on your journey straight to Grandmaster. Speaking of your journey to Grandmaster, GameLeap.com has helped thousands of people climb the ranks to Grandmaster, and we can help you too. Do yourself a favor, go check out the website and look around and be well on your way to being broken. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments about anything I have in this video, definitely let me know in the comments down below or DM me on Discord. Anyways, that's all we got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time,